I mean, that's one nice thing about coming home that I didn't anticipate was the support of family, like extended family. My mom and my brother is here, and they're my brother's a lawyer, and they're very different, but they've always been so supportive of my creative needs. It's always been very clear that that's who I am and that's what I need.
Welcome to Clicks and Bricks Podcast. We talk about the entrepreneur mindset.
If you get one shot at this, what kind of shot are you going to take?
If we forget who we are, they're going to forget who you are.
And you've got an adversity story that's out of this world.
Everything from that Main Street brick and mortar to that billion-dollar manufacturer.
Beth, thank you so much for joining us today. You've got a little bit of a different business than the business owner that we normally talk about, but why don't, instead of me trying to explain what you do, can you tell the audience what it is that you do for a living today?
Sure, I'll do my best. Hi, Ken. I have a small production company in Winnipeg, Manitoba. My background is in theater and film, so it kind of came about where I found I had to build my own sandbox to sort of get to play in the realm of film and TV making. It's one of those businesses where like restaurant experience is required. People don't tend to give people they haven't worked with before financing and trust them to sort of like create content and deliver on time, etc. So I started small in about 2015. I founded a small company here and started pitching like local interest stories at that time, MTS, local broadcaster, had a program where they were working with independent filmmakers and producers on stories of local interest. So like half-hour TV documentaries based, that were about the subject matter about people in Manitoba or history of Manitoba, something of interest here locally. Right. So over the years, in my first years of business, I pitched and produced for them. Well, I co-directed a couple with some colleagues of mine. First was hired as a director and a creator, and then started producing myself, I think 5 altogether. And then just sort of went from there, started also working on other colleagues' shows in the capacity of assistant director, or whatever they needed. It's a small community here, and people, and so when people are pulling a show together, you just do what you do. It's fun. It's like movie camp, and you just try to help each other out that way. That's sort of Winnipeg for you. But I had just come back to Winnipeg. I was raised here, but spent about 20 years elsewhere, multiple places I had lived in that interim and studied, but came back to Winnipeg because I saw a lot of opportunity here. We have one of the more generous tax credits in this industry. There's just there's a little bit of land pioneer kind of spirit here, and a little open opportunity. So I really have been trying to sort of become a part of the growth and the boom that film that's happening here. And it's slow, and it's still, you still come up with that lack of name. It's a very name-centric type of industry. But that's how you build a name, is just by slowly and steadily being consistent in your delivery. And hopefully people start to then see that you're capable and want to work with you on bigger projects.
Right. So and I think everywhere in the world except for like Hollywood and New York, film and video is slower than the grow a film and video business anywhere but there.
You'd be surprised right now, through COVID and the last few years, actually, a lot of the American, like the Hollywood and New York productions are shooting in Canada, and Winnipeg is, Toronto and Vancouver were first to sort of show that boom, but Winnipeg, wanted to get in on that and really, really made a point of creating generous incentives for people to film here, and it's really taken off. Like there's a lot of service production here, and it is American shows. And the thing is that the the financing and the key creatives are all cast and come up, and then they're working with a local producer here that will get their crews and, you know, orchestrate their shoot, and make them make those credits accessible to them because they're in co-production.
Right.
But where I'm trying to pivot now is in content development. I'd like to see the creative community here benefit more from that boom. You know, I mean, the service productions are great, and there's room for everybody. I really, I'm not dissing that at all. I've worked on those shows and they're great for experience, training up crews, upping everybody's game. The infrastructure here is building as a result, and, all positive for local filmmakers. But it still remains a bit difficult to get in with your own creative content and to get, the musicians cast here, like the composers and the designers and the directors, and, the creative keys are still generally brought up with the financing,
Right.
from wherever that's coming from, which
And
is,
then the legal side too, right? You've got all, like, what most people don't realize, or a lot of people don't realize, is that every one of those components is a whole different set of negotiations and contracts and
yes,
everything.
absolutely. There's so many spin-off industries. It's they all, like, ideally everything would kind of grow in unison with each other. And so, maybe this is a case where slow and steady wins the race, and, patience is going to be a benefit for us, because I do see that when something goes down in this industry, it goes down hard, so, and a lot of people lose out, and it can really kind of taint your reputation forever, essentially. So, my own strategy and that of some of my colleagues is just, accept that that's where we're at right now, and just look for those little windows where we can show what we're capable of, and grow, in a way that can support longevity.
Yes. I left the entertainment industry in 1999, and I'm just now coming back 2 years ago. It was a lot of stress for me, and I vowed I'm not going to come back to this industry until I can do it on my terms.
Well, this is the thing.
And it took me 20 years of the
out?
internet to get me there, right?
Well, and this is what you're doing just with this. You've
Right.
come up with something that's meaningful to you. You do it in your own way, Was that what took you away? Was the stress? I'm very familiar with that particular production stress, by the way.
Yeah, so it was a
Common.
fluke. I was traveling the country doing video, and I got an audio job. So I went with the musicians for a year, and I came home and I had a break, and I got an IT job, and I slept in a bed for like 3 or 4 days, and I'm like, man, this is great. I don't smell. I'm taking a shower every day.
Yeah.
I'm sleeping in a bed instead of on a rocky bus. Oh, we paused. Uh-oh. You're back.
You're back.
All right.
And we're
I'm
back.
not sure what happened. Yes.
Okay, that's a glitch in the matrix.
Yeah. So basically I got off a tour. I slept in a bed. I got really comfortable with that for a couple of days. And my next job was going to go to Japan. I'm just like, I don't want to go to Japan for a year. It's just not in me. So I just said, hey, just find me a different tour to go on, one in the States, or at least in the northern continent, our continent. And, by the time they got me another gig, I was happy where I was. So I just stayed. I didn't go back out.
Yeah.
So.
It's amazing how many times in life and in career life, you have to really reassess and make the pivots that are trying to indicate themselves to you.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think that's come into play in my sort of journey at multiple points. I remember when in my early 20s, I was in New York. I just got finished film school. I was interning for a lovely gentleman named Michael Moore, who's a documentary filmmaker, and really got along with him really well. We were having a nice time, and I'd gone across to England to make a film with a colleague of mine to co-direct a drama, and I'd been experiencing some health issues through that time. And I think it was a lot to do with the stress, and was diagnosed at that time with lupus, which I've, knock wood, I've been living with. It's managing it. It's nothing to feel sorry about. But it did dictate certain activities, and sort of it was like that little monkey on my shoulder that really made clear to me what my limits were as far as physical and emotional exertion.
Right.
And to choose those battles wisely. It's not that I can't do the stress of a feature film or a series, but if I am going to use that energy, then I'd rather it be spent on something that's meaningful to me, and
Yes.
And just not expend myself for other people's gain to the same degree that, and not that I was feeling that way with Michael at all, but that kind of guided me back to Canada. And I lived in Vancouver for a few years and started making independent features with colleagues there, and just again found that groove where this feels like right. But not to make it seem to your audience that that's an easy path. It's
Right. If you want to be in the entertainment industry, New York and LA are the place to be. Luckily for the internet and COVID, you can do it anywhere now. But the contact, like I find myself flying out regularly to other cities to, meet with people and have contacts, because St. Louis is just a small town, right?
Exactly. You have to plug into the industry, even if where you are is perfectly situated for production. You still have to plug into your financing and your distribution channels that are generally in those bigger centers, or go to the markets as well.
Right.
Like I was just at Cannes, which was wonderful. First time at the film festival there.
Did you submit to Cannes?
I didn't have a film. I didn't have a film in competition or anything like that, and I didn't have a film that I was selling in the market either. I went just as a film professional, as a delegate. But that was important for me to scout how it's done, to sort of again see the worlds of like, it's like they're almost like niches, and sort of try to identify who do I want to speak to when I'm ready to pitch, and also tailor, see what people are doing and kind of just inform, really, so that, because you get one chance to make a first impression, right? And I just, I really did want to just sort of make myself aware of certain things before I really went in with any kind of self-introduction. But it's like anything, it really you find there's sort of an organic synergy to things, and the people that you're meant to find you. And it's like again, if we're on this path of authenticity in our work, then the more you can just be yourself and allow those connections to be organic and sincere, not painted on. I think people feel that. And so I'm very pleased with the people and the experience that I had there.
In the entertainment industry specifically, everybody studies human nature. Right?
Yes, it's true.
Everybody is studying human nature so in depth, and not only studying it, but how to manipulate it and how to, posture different feelings and all this stuff. So it is a bizarre world to go in. And on the sincerity level, if you're not sincere, you can smell it from a mile away.
It shows, yeah.
It shows so hard.
And people are kind of sick of that. Like,
yes.
I noticed, I think there's really is a shift in that industry. I mean, maybe the Me Too had something to do with it. I saw a lot more young women producers really like killing it. And supported, it had a bit of a different vibe than I expected from what I've seen in the past. And I think there's a consciousness around that, and a little more support for the up to now unsupported within that industry. But like, I think that just sort of maybe it's also the COVID, people are being a little more introspective. It just,
Right.
it didn't seem as flash, and like that didn't fly as well as you might have assumed in, you know, older Hollywood stereotypes that it would.
Right.
I was like, it was a little more toned down and more human. And people were just so happy to see each other. I mean, everybody's been locked down. It was a great kind of unifier
Yes.
on some level. So if somebody was in conversation with you and you were talking about anything interesting and something with potential, then you could sense genuine interest and genuine excitement around that.
Absolutely.
So fingers crossed.
I was at a film festival last week in Las Vegas, a Freedom Film Festival, and it was a lot of fun. And I love film festivals. They're so much fun, and you get people from all different walks of life. But you started this new production company in 2015, and what's the name of it?
Madel Media. Madel. It's the Yiddish word for girl. My grandfather used to call me Madel. It's very common, sort of like
How special.
affectionate term,
Yeah.
or naughty term, depending on the scenario. And so so this was a bit before that, you know, movement within the industry, but it was just a term that was sort of struck something within myself. And with that particular production company, it's not really, I'm not marketing it. It's really just to house my Manitoba. Like you have to incorporate to access the tax credits, and
Right.
you know, if I'm doing even these small productions for $20,000-$30,000 budgets, if they still have to run through a company. So it was really just more of a personal attachment. But you know, for what I'm looking at now, I'm kind of trying to I guess this is one of those next pivots that I'm experiencing today, or just these days as we're speaking, to sort of move more back to scripted and content, whereas so far I've just been started slow and done what there was clear opportunity to do here, which was these documentaries.
Right.
And I don't regret any of them. I really, you know, documentary is a really interesting and helpful process for any filmmaker. I think it's like it's like making art out of found objects in a way. I mean, even if you have an idea and you're scouting for you're going to go to the woods to get, you know, stones and wood for your art. It's
Right.
kind of like that. And it really helps you hone the skills of storytelling and pacing, and, you know, and solving those problems when you don't have the shot. It's different when you can script and shoot to your script. But my background had been theater and that kind of cinema, and I'm
Right.
you know, I've missed it, and I still have so many, you know, creative bombs exploding in my head and heart at all times. So it was time to start acting and see if I can get any of those off the ground. So that's what I'm trying to do now, is more develop like content development, and see if I can garner some interest in some original movies and TV shows, and also some adaptations. There's a wonderful mystery novelist here named Allison Preston, and so I'm just optioning some of her work to see if I can develop it for the screen. So it's just one of those kind of like take another risk on your own dreams time,
Right. Okay.
which is scary, I'll admit, but
Yeah. So that the audience understands this a little bit, you started, and is it Madel Productions?
Madel Media, yeah.
Madel Media. So you started that, and when you started, you were doing work for hire, right? Eat your kill. You go out, you pitch an idea, they say, here's the budget, do it, and that's how you get paid. And now you're transitioning to say, you know what? I'm going to make my own content under my own terms, and then go try to sell it.
Yes, or ideally pre-sell it. I mean, technically, I was still doing that with those documentaries. The way that
Okay.
that program worked is you're bringing them the premise for the show,
Right.
and pitching it to them. So, but these are much bigger projects, and they'll involve, you know, a lot more trust from whoever is going to partner up with you. So,
Right.
I mean, ideally for me, I would work with other producers here, like more established in that arena of production. So there's some people here that I've been bringing my ideas to and seeing if they're interested in co-producing or producing in partnership with me. And then together we pitch to a broadcaster who would actually finance, or a streamer in that case. You know, Netflix has just come to Canada and has shown interest in content. But again, it's very difficult to break in. You know,
but Netflix, you have to have, my understanding of getting on Netflix, you have to have a literary agent that works with Netflix. Is that accurate?
It was the case. I'm sort of still researching it now. There's a new head of Netflix Canada. They put out calls. They say they want to start working with Canadian creators. So it's really just finding an access to those decision makers, like to those decision makers. So that's why sort of some of these producers that I might attempt to partner up with, they could have the ear of these people that could say, hey, you know what, here's a good opportunity from Manitoba. We want to represent some work from there. This is a local author. She's got her IP in order. You know, we're developing adaptations. Would you give it a try? So
amazing.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's a crapshoot.
Selling art, selling video is the same as selling any other product. You got to get through the gatekeepers. You got to know the process. You have to know how it's going to benefit, what benefit is going to be for them.
Yeah,
now,
for sure.
Before 2015, when you started this new firm, what were you doing? Were you in New York, or I saw some like MTV? Your resume was pretty deep.
Yes, directly before I came back here. Where was I? I think I went from Vancouver to Toronto. I lived in Toronto. And in Toronto, I was trying to bust into the industry there, you know, trying to get on the docket of creative agencies, sort of like for music videos and stuff like that. But I didn't find myself a great match with the sort of Toronto style. Toronto has its own kind of look and rhythm, and my husband, I met my husband there, and we had come to Winnipeg just for 8 months to get married, and he really liked it. So he kind of convinced me to move back here. I was a little hesitant as it was my hometown. And so, yeah, I think pretty soon after I moved back here, my one colleague hired me to direct one of those MTS shows, and then a second one. So I was just sort of a hired creator for a different producer. And then I founded the company and started producing myself, because it was the only way to sort of make it worthwhile financially.
Right. To
sort of wear the hat of the producer and the director and the creator, you know, these were really small budgets that we're looking for. But I still like right now, for example, on weekends for the whole past last year, I'm assistant director on a colleague's feature film that we're shooting on weekends and evenings. So, you know, it doesn't just because you're working on one hat, like we really, really need each other to get these things off the ground, especially when other people don't have faith in us yet.
Right.
You know, so, you know, last year I did craft services on two of a friend's. He was production managing, and he was like, Beth, do you feel like doing crafty on a movie? And so, yeah,
absolutely.
like
you get line credit for that.
I'd rather be making movies than anything, you know, like it's just one of those things that you can't really compare to the feeling. If it's in your blood, then you need it. You need your fix. And it's nothing more depleting and depressing than not having anything moving. And I'm sure all of your audience can relate to that stagnancy feeling. And it's when you have to wait for others in order to act. And this, unfortunately, is one of those mediums. It's not like you can go and paint a movie in your basement,
right? You
know, like a painting or you really do need the faith of others to even create it. Mm-hmm. And so any opportunity, I I'm game to get on the team in any capacity. And it always helps me, especially as a director and a producer, to have done a lot of different jobs. I've done almost every job on set except for the technical stuff. I mean, I have filmed for myself, but it's not my specialty.
Right.
But to learn the challenges of all the people that you're working with and learn their lingo and you hear, again, this is an industry where you hear a lot of people lose patience with each other and belittle, that kind of culture has been in filmmaking for a long time. Yeah, it's a culture. It's a culture of the hierarchy and a culture of, I think it's shifting, I worked on as a production coordinator on a colleague's film not long ago. And in the production office, we had a poster that said, pride, community, respect, and
right.
really tried to treat everyone with that same acknowledgement and work as a team. And I can feel a conscious shift. People are society's changing as far as what's acceptable in workplace behavior across the board, I'd say. And so you can see that in this industry as well.
I know when I produced a short film, it would have been 96, 97. And the set was, the director was really, really, really hardcore.
Really?
And it was.
I'm going to
break
you.
Yes, and it was, for a short film, it was 16-hour days nonstop, just back to back, and we did get we won an award, but not a lot of awards. So
right,
we'll bury that film where it belongs.
You'll have to send me links. I'd love to see.
I have one copy on VHS that I haven't ever dubbed over to digital. So
right on.
I hope the tape is still good. I'll have to bust it out and transfer it at some point. But
yeah, you should before it gets too brittle. I should do the same. Actually, we all have our VHS.
Yes.
I guess we're dating ourselves here, but oh well.
I'm sure in my attic I probably have my old Betamax and my old big discs somewhere too.
Ken?
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, Betamax. That's awesome. I remember them well. When I was in film school, they were just bringing in nonlinear editing, and so we learned to splice and mag stock and with Sharpies and all of it, and literally within a year that particular education was basically obsolete. So I never became. I've when I make films, even my own projects, I work with an editor where I direct the edit and he drives the machinery. Almost like if we were on a road trip, I would be navigating and he would be driving.
I loved the grease pen and the razor blade.
Yeah,
I loved
the guillotine.
And and I was in the same exact boat, right? I graduated video school. I didn't graduate film school. I dropped out before we got done. But I went through a broadcast center program that was like an associate's in just hardcore video production, film production. And at my internship, nonlinear editing came in. I'm like, man, this is the end. This is way too easy for anybody to learn how to do. And I wasn't wrong totally, but where we've come in the past 25 years is really, really cool. I never anticipated the internet and the need that we have today for content, right? So what do you tell a young girl today that has some quirky interest and she's like, man, I want to make films about this, but nobody's going to care about what I think or what my opinion is? How do you tell that girl today to get the confidence to just do what she loves to do and ignore the rest of the world? Because I think that's what you have to do.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, absolutely. Well, I mean, fortunately, she can just look around. The idea of YouTube stars and influencers and people making really creative content on their own accord, out of their own steam. There's never been more of an opportunity for that. Now, I guess the dots to connect is accessing your audience and however people market that to sort of grow their likes or whatever.
Right.
It's never been something I've tried at very hard, but I absolutely see it paying off for a lot of people. Yeah, I'd say, and even just in learning your skill, like the more, I mean, it's very much a learn by doing. You can learn whatever you can learn in school. You're gonna relearn and unlearn and cross learn again by actually attempting to make a film. And that's when you're in the edit room and you see, well, it thought it would work, but it's not working. What's going on, you know? And trying to solve those problems to make an audience receivable piece. I mean, that's better than any film school could ever teach. And I guess the difference is now that gear, you can do that on a phone. You can still enter that process without a film camera and lighting kit. And
I think there was a couple, and I don't know how to say that. It's either can or con. I'm not sure what the right way to say it is, but there's people in Cannes and in Sundance that are shooting on iPhones and Androids.
Oh yes.
Feature-length films.
It's the era. Beautiful stuff too.
Right.
Well, the technology's caught up, and it really, like anything, you know, if you want to excel in any industry, you have to offer something special to the audience. And so that's really going to be about what story are you telling and how are you telling it, you know, and how are you making it accessible to them, you know, in tangible terms. You know, are you able to reach them, period, with that unique and, you know, meaningful item. Right. So I mean, it's really like, it's so worth the thought, you know. People think like, because I was there and there was something funny happen, that would be, and if you just put a camera up, then it's going to be funny to whoever watches it, and maybe to the people who know that person, you know. But realistically, to engage audience, there's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot of nuance, and that takes time and practice, regardless if you have education, you know, at film school.
Encourage to put it out there. Encourage to put it out there.
Absolutely. Oh, it's so, to be rejected with something that's personal to you. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure people can relate to that fear. It's especially in such a public forum, right. And you've chosen to do it, and you're just like, why? What's wrong with me?
Because you love the process, right? You love the process. You love the storytelling, and you do connect with somebody. You don't have to connect with everybody. It's the connections that you do make that are important.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's worth just telling yourself that you committing to the learning of it. So maybe people aren't loving this piece, but you needed to put it out there to increase your learning, and that's your process that you're in. And, you know, truthfully, that process goes indefinitely. Like, I don't think that will ever not be the reason that that's always the place where I find the courage, is because it's not thinking that it's great or thinking that, oh, this time people are going to love it. It's more I have to do this to get to grow, and whether I find people engaging with it and that's encouraging and I'm learning that this is working, or if I'm finding it's not working, that I'm committed to that growth journey within my craft.
Right.
And it's humbling. It's very humbling, but that's, you know, from a humble place, you reveal the things that are most interesting. I think your humanity comes through, and that's where value is in this medium that is, as you say, about the human condition.
Absolutely. So,
and you do that in your show, I find, talking, you know, like getting people's stories. Yeah. And learning from each other's experiences. No, yes. It's really cool.
Now, 15, you decide you're going to move again with your husband back to your hometown. That's got to be a little bit nerve-wracking. Through this process, you know, was it did you just have support from your husband, or did you have support from other people in your community while you're going through it? So I think that support from your significant other is a vital piece to any kind of success, right? If you don't have support from your significant other, either get a different significant other or you're gonna choose a different path, right? Because it's gonna be a big struggle. Did you have anybody else besides your husband through this journey to support you on that?
Absolutely. I mean, that's one nice thing about coming home that I didn't anticipate was the support of family, like extended family. My mom and my brother is here, and they're my brother's a lawyer, and they're very different, but they've always been so supportive of my creative needs. It's always been very clear that that's who I am and that's what I need. And so no, it's been really, really fun. I remember my brother, a lot of people would come and sort of like request. It sounds like they're asking for something for themselves, but really, it really, really helped me for like little videos that they'd want to do for like things that they need videos, little commercials or this or that. And so through those kind of projects, you just sort of get out on the street, you get doing, and you get the turnover of completing, like when we were speaking before about that feeling of stagnancy. I think a lot of that help fill those times until I could kind of find my place within the industry. And just that general like moral support, like you're doing the right thing, and just like go get them, girl.
Absolutely.
I've been very lucky with my and the community here, Manitoba. I'd say there's more support here. Like we have a lot of government bodies that you can apply for grants with. There's Winnipeg Film Group. There's Film and Music Manitoba. There's a couple of organizations actually in place that are really, their mandate is to sort of help people in their struggle or in their path of within this industry. So those are huge assets that I don't take for granted. And I noticed that that's not the case everywhere. So I'm very grateful for those bodies, and I hope that those stay in place, because this is a time where funding for a lot of those public programs are in jeopardy. So I don't know in the States, I don't know, do you have similar like arts councils, the Canada Council, Manitoba Arts Council?
Yeah, there's a lot of grants that you can go after. There's public services. The universities are a great resource in the States to go to. If you're a filmmaker, you can just put yourself in line with, in St. Louis, we've got Webster University, which is a great film school. And you can,
Cool.
you can go start talking with film students, and I mean, if they don't have an idea that they're currently working on, you're right, the stagnancy, they'll jump right out of stagnant for an idea really, really quickly if they're in that position. So, yeah.
Anything you say yes to will stimulate, some new activity of some sort.
Absolutely.
It'll bring you new people, it'll bring you new ideas, it'll just sort of stir the soup, so to speak. And I feel like there's definitely times where that can be a huge benefit to whatever stage your career is in. I really do try to say yes to those things. I'm right now prepping for a music video freebie for my neighbor who made this wonderful opus of like all these he recorded through pandemic, like a whole body of work of songs, really cool stuff. So, he's just enlisting a whole bunch of people to make videos, which is like so great.
Yeah,
to have projects like that where you're only limited by your own imagination. So yes. I'm grateful for those opportunities.
Absolutely. And there's so much fun, and you never know what will come out of it. It's a fine line between accepting to do free work and billing for your labor. You got to really weigh that out, because if you do too much free labor, you can get in trouble.
Yes,
I've done that too, specifically in the film industry. So
yeah, it's funny. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh, I was just gonna say there's some professions are more prone to that, like doctors or whatever. like I got this pain or whatever. But overall, I'm very grateful for every little thing that I've been able to do with anybody on any subject. There's nothing that you don't learn from.
Right. Is there a place that if somebody wanted to learn more about you or see some of your work that they could go and see some of your work, or maybe, maybe hire you for some work that they might be interested in doing?
Sure. Yeah, my website, almost all my shows are on there. It's bethazore.com, just my name, BETHAZORE.com.
Cool. And we'll throw that
Under
link at the bottom.
shows, yeah, under shows, there's all sorts there. I mean, that's almost 20 years of stuff. And I'd say, the work that's on there is not necessarily indicative of what I'm working on now. I think now I'm just ready to, I'm kind of trying to lift myself onto the next platform as far as, productions and the type of productions. But certainly it's all there, and there's nothing that I'm not proud of. There's nothing, even those documentaries, I consider them public service. And in fact, a lot of those ones you'll see there's a section where they're royalty free. So if any of your audience finds that of interest, that it could be of help to others, there's one about secondhand shopping. There's one about entrepreneurship, as a matter of fact, from
Wonderful.
rags to rich Lou, is absolutely about entrepreneurship in the garment industry here in Winnipeg.
Nice. Awesome. So,
Yeah.
and for the audience that doesn't know, public domain or royalty free, you can use that and put it in your productions at will.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
yeah, you can screen it if you have a community group that you want to have an event and you're wanting to show some stuff, feel free. Use them with my blessing and other people involved.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. I had a blast talking with you and learning about your career and what you do for the world. It's a blessing.
Thanks so much, Ken. Yeah, it's wonderful to meet you too. I really look forward to seeing your work. And
Absolutely.
also, congratulations on this podcast. I think this is a really nice place after the journey that you mentioned. What a nice place to be for now.
Yeah, it's been so much fun, and it's taken my early career and then my mid-career, and then I'm not sure what it's going to end up like, but it's a fun journey. So
cool. Well, I'll keep track of it. I'll keep track of the podcast. Let's put it on my favorites.
Thank you so much, Beth. You have a great day.
All right. Take
Bye-bye.
good care, Ken. Bye-bye.
That's it for today's show, folks. If you'd like to join my text line community, the number is 314-370-2871. All you have to do to join that text line is send me any question about business or technology. I'll do all the research, and I'll give you an absolutely free, totally unbiased answer. Get to work.